Adam stretched out on the lounge chair with earphones and a glass of soft drink. He was resting outside his parents' house by the pool filled with cool turquoise water. His father was the mayor of the city, a powerful, important person who could handle all kinds of problems. Adam had been accustomed since childhood to being under his father's protection, but sometimes his father became annoying. He lectured about his son's unacceptable behavior and threatened to start re-educating him if his behavior didn't change. Sometimes, his father even cut off Adam's financial support for a while, but not for long. His mother was always spoiling her son and knew how to put in a good word for her precious boy. Her strict and powerful husband can never resist the charms of his beloved wife. Adam loved his beautiful luxury life. Nightclubs, travel, fancy cars, girls and friends. When shall he have fun, if not now? He's only 22 years old, he'll settle down later. And actually, he had to study at the law school that his father helped him get into. Luckily, Adam had everything under control there. He had a friend who helped him pass his exams for a reasonable price. Adam was proud that he learned to cope with some problems without the help of his father. Surely his father could always get him out of trouble, but he would reproach him for a long time afterward. So, Adam tried not to bother his strict parents over nothing. Now he had another slight problem, but he could sort it out himself, especially since this was the third time it had happened to him, and he knew how to deal with that. A couple of months ago, he had met a girl in a club. She was beautiful but modest and very shy. It's rare to see someone like her these days. Probably that's what Adam liked about Tiffany. He was bored and he wanted something new. So he approached her and introduced himself. It turned out that this was Tiffany's first time in a nightclub, and it was unclear why she came there. It wasn't really interesting to Adam. He offered her a ride around the night city. Tiffany agreed. She didn't like loud music and crowds of dancing people, so she didn't want to stay there anymore. But she really liked Adam. She looked at him with enamored eyes and was cutely embarrassed. Adam took her to a field outside the city where he used to take all the girls. It was a quiet, secluded, beautiful place. That's where everything happened. To his immense surprise, he realized that he was Tiffany's first man. This had never happened to him before. Then Adam drove her home asking for her phone number, just to be polite, though he wasn't going to call her. Still, they met 2 more times. He was drawn to Tiffany. She was shy, modest, required nothing, and looked at him as if he were the king of the world. But Adam got bored with his new girlfriend pretty soon. She was too holy. And then his father decided to send his good-for-nothing son to a language school abroad for the entire summer. He said that Adam needed to improve his foreign language so that he could get a good job. Adam was happy about the new adventures, and so it happened. The vacation was fun and wild, and he completely forgot Tiffany. But the other day, Tiffany reminded him of herself. She had his phone number and had called him to please him with the news about her pregnancy. It wasn't the first time that this had happened to him, but still, it was unpleasant. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop across the street from his university. Tiffany has been raised by her grandmother since the 5th grade. She never knew her father, and her mother died early because she had heart disease. They lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, or rather, survived on a meager grandmother's pension and Tiffany's allowance. It wasn't easy. The girl wanted to get on her feet as soon as possible and start earning money. She saw no other career path but medicine. Tiffany dreamed of helping people and saving them so there would be fewer stories like her own when a child had to grow up without a mother. And so, Tiffany entered medical university. The university years passed quickly. The girl liked the lectures and seminars, but she liked practical classes the most. She felt like she had made the right choice. After graduation, the girl got a job as a nurse at the local hospital. She started getting a salary. Life became much better. The girl could finally buy the clothes and shoes she wanted, not something she had enough money for. She started going to the movies with their friends and even went on vacation to the beach with them. And one day, the girls invited Tiffany to a nightclub. She was 22 and it was her first time in a place like this. She didn't like it. It was crowded, dark, smoky, and the music was too loud. Tiffany didn't regret that she hadn't been to such places before, unlike other students. She wanted to leave, but then he walked up. A handsome, athletic guy wearing stylish and expensive clothes, just like the cover of a magazine. He smelled of some elegant men's perfume, had a massive watch on his wrist, and looked friendly. Obviously, he liked Tiffany. "My name is Adam." The boy introduced himself, holding out his hand to Tiffany. She smiled awkwardly, shook his warm, soft hand, and told him her name. "You're very pretty, Tiffany," Adam said, looking deeply into her eyes. These words made her feel like hot water was poured over her body. She knew she was pretty, but she had no experience with men. At the university, she was surrounded by girls, and she didn't go anywhere except the university. So, she was very embarrassed by Adam's behavior, and at the same time, his attention was so pleasant. That night, they danced a lot, laughed, and talked about everything that was on their minds. Finally, Tiffany relaxed. She felt like a real princess with Adam. He won her heart with his confidence and determination. The guy seemed to feel confident in any situation and always knew what to do. Then, Adam invited her for a ride around the night city. Tiffany realized what it would lead to, but she wasn't worried about it. After all, she was 22 now, all grown up. Adam was her first man. Tiffany was happy to have him in her life now. It seemed that it would be like that forever. But soon, the girl realized that she had been too naive. They met with Adam only 2 more times. Then, he disappeared without even warning her. At first, Tiffany waited patiently for a call, then decided to call herself, but Adam didn't answer the phone. The girl listened to the long beeps for hours. It was strange and distressing. What if something had happened to the guy? Maybe he got in an accident. After all, Adam used to drive while drunk. One day, a woman's voice answered Tiffany's call. The lady said she was the Whitaker family's housekeeper. The woman informed a worried Tiffany that everything was fine with Adam. He had left for language school and would be there till the end of summer. Oh really? He left and didn't even think to warn her. Doesn't she mean anything to him? Her eyes filled with hot tears. She looked at their short-lived relationship with different eyes, and things began to fall into place. Tiffany was in love with Adam and wanted to be with him every minute. But he was just having fun with another girl, naive and madly in love with him. Tiffany was suffering for an entire week. During that time, she went through everything, sobbing into a pillow, anger and apathy. The girl tried to hide her feelings from her grandmother, but her grandmother noticed something was wrong with her sweet girl. She didn't ask any questions, but supported her as best she could. And then finally, Tiffany pulled herself together. That's okay, everybody happens to go through this. She has to move on. She'll be wiser next time, and Adam had to be forgotten once and for all. Besides, Adam had probably already forgotten about Tiffany. But soon, she faced a new shock. She did not feel well and was nauseous all the time. She hoped it was just stress and anxiety. It happens, she's a nurse, and she knows a lot about it. But the 2 bright stripes on the test confirmed the worst suspicion. She is pregnant. On the other hand, it was a good reason to get back together with Adam. What if things could work out between them? Tiffany patiently waited until fall and then called Adam. He answered the call this time. He didn't recognize the girl at first, but then he remembered and seemed to be glad. Tiffany couldn't take it anymore and told him what had happened. There was an embarrassing silence for a few seconds. Then, Adam asked to meet at his university coffee shop to discuss it. Tiffany expected a lot from this meeting, and she prepared. She put on a beautiful dress, emphasizing her still slim body, and applied makeup. The girl was nervous, so she came an hour early. Adam, on the other hand, was late. He sat opposite Tiffany and drove straight to the heart of the matter. "I'm sorry this happened," the guy began. He knew from his own experience that it was better to say he was sorry for what had happened. Adam didn't feel any guilt, but girls became more mendable if he acted right. "I'm sorry you have to go through this," Adam continued. "It's all right. At first, I admit, I was afraid, but now I'm so happy," the girl replied. "What's your gestational period?" Adam asked more precisely. 11 weeks now," the girl said with a smile. "We still have time to terminate the pregnancy," the guy concluded. He was very familiar with this specific thing. "Let's do it right now. There's no time to procrastinate. My father's friend owns a private clinic. We can come without an appointment and they will do it quickly. Don't worry about the money. I'll drive you there right now so you don't have to take the bus." What? Tiffany couldn't believe her ears. Over the summer, she got used to the idea of becoming a mother and even looked at the tiny creature under her heart. She told her grandmother about the baby. Her grandmother was shocked by the news, took heart medication, and even cried. She wanted a completely different fate for her granddaughter and certainly did not dream of her becoming a single mother. Grandmother was sure that Tiffany's boyfriend, whom her granddaughter had only seen 3 times, would refuse paternity. It seems the elderly wise woman was right. "I really never thought you'd react like this," the girl frankly told Adam. "Well, how am I supposed to react? We met a couple of times. I didn't promise you anything. I don't really know you, and neither do you me. What baby are you talking about? Let's go to the clinic. We don't have that much time." "No," Tiffany replied. Adam didn't seem like the perfect guy to her anymore. The girl saw the typical rich kid, the spoiled son of a wealthy father, and he had many girls like her. She didn't want to have anything in common with him anymore. But it was strange to think that way when they had that thing in common, a baby who was about to start moving in her belly. Tiffany walked silently out of the coffee shop. That was the end of her relationship with Adam. A cute baby boy was born on time at the city maternal hospital. Tiffany named her son Connor. Unfortunately, the baby was diagnosed with a heart defect, but the surgery wasn't necessary yet. Other than that, little Connor was perfectly healthy. Tiffany and her grandmother loved the child tremendously. He responded with sincere love and affection, but the money had become very tight. Tiffany was temporarily unable to work, and the meager payments were barely enough to pay for the essentials. But even in the hardest times, the young mother didn't think of asking Adam for help, and she didn't think she had any right to do so. After all, Adam had made it clear that he refused to be a father. It was her decision to have the baby, so what could she expect from him now? Connor grew up to be a very clever child. When he was 4, he was already reading, and when he was 5, he had already been studying 2nd and 3rd grade math textbooks. He was thirsty for knowledge, asked millions of questions, and many of them stumped his grandmother and Tiffany, and the woman surfed the internet to satisfy the boy's interests. When Connor started kindergarten, Tiffany returned to work after maternity leave, and the financial situation improved. Life was getting better. Grandmother looked after the child, the boy pleased them with his successes, and everything seemed fine, except that the child's heart problems had not disappeared. When Connor was 8, he had serious heart problems. The doctor said that Connor needed expensive surgery urgently and announced the amounts of money. Tiffany paled. She couldn't earn that kind of money in her entire life, and she couldn't get a loan. And even if she sold her apartment, it wouldn't be enough. "Don't worry, there is a charity foundation that helps with families in such situations," the doctor said. "I will prepare and send you information today, and they will start the fundraising process. But this process lasts for months, and in your case, the sooner the better." "I understand," Tiffany nodded, holding back tears. She needed a large sum of money urgently, and she knew who could help. But will he be willing to help? She followed Adam's life not on purpose, but because he was a very well-known figure in the city, an Instagram star and a party animal. The young man liked that kind of life. Tiffany knew he had enough money for the surgery because even his car was more expensive, not to mention several apartments. It wasn't nice to count other people's money, but it was about their son's life and health. Adam is Connor's father. Wouldn't his heart tremble at seeing the boy? Tiffany found out on a local news website that Adam's father was retiring and was having a huge party at a luxury restaurant. Adam will be there too, a great opportunity to talk. Adam was smoking in the restaurant smoking room and thought about tonight's events. His father was retiring, and his new status was not boding well for Adam. There would be less money, more lectures, and a father's control. Adam was over 30 years now. Adam is now over 30 years old. At that age, his parents' lectures were particularly annoying, but he had to endure them. His father kept hoping to make a decent man out of his son. He gave him an education and a good job. He didn't even need to work, but just don't forget to come to the office, and that's it. He bought him a 2-story apartment in a prestigious neighborhood, gave him an expensive car, and provided financial support. But he also demanded a lot. His father wanted Adam to work, grow, strive for more, and finally start a family. He even threatened to cut off the money. Adam's sad thoughts were interrupted by a waitress. She peeked into the smoking room and asked, "You're Adam Whitaker, right?" "Right," the guy replied. "There's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an invitation. We can't let her in, but she really wants to see you," the waitress said to the guy. "No invitation, then kick her out," Adam replied nervously. "That's what I wanted to do, but there's a boy with her. She says he's your son." Adam was confused. "What son?" he thought to himself. Silently, he got up and followed the waitress, trying to remember all the girls he dated lately. There was Tiffany waiting on the porch. Adam recognized her immediately. She was still beautiful, but looked too pale and tired. There was anxiety and hope in her eyes. The woman was holding the hand of a boy about 8 years old. Adam didn't need a DNA test. The boy looked exactly like him in his childhood photos. "Well, hi there," the man said confusedly. so you decided to have a baby after all. Tiffany sent the boy away to the fountain so he wouldn't overhear their conversation. "Connor is your son," she said. "I see. So what? I assume you want money?" "I really need money," the woman nodded. "But what do you want from me? It was your decision to keep the baby. And now it's your responsibility. I offered another way out of the situation. I even offered money. So I don't owe you anything," Adam said. "I agree, but..." The girl tried to explain. "And if you complain, I'll take the child away from you. I'll deprive you of your parental rights. That would be easy, so don't even start," the guy muttered. "Stop trying to scare me," she exclaimed. "At least listen to me. I wouldn't have come to you if it wasn't for our trouble. He needs surgery or he's going to die. Do you understand? And the surgery is expensive." "I get it now," Adam muttered. "So he's ill. You really should have terminated the pregnancy, but I'm not even sure if any of this is true." "Do you think I'm just trying to get money that I made up the whole thing about the surgery?" she replied indignantly. "That's exactly what I think," Adam nodded. "You have no idea how many women come to me all the time and ask for money under false pretenses. But your story is the most heartbreaking. You are the most creative." "Will you help your son?" Tiffany didn't pay any attention to the hurtful words. She had a goal. Everything else didn't matter. "When I have a son with the woman I love, of course I will help. But I don't know this kid." Adam turned and went inside. Tiffany remained standing on the porch. The charity foundation collected enough money in time. Connor had the surgery, and he became a perfectly healthy child. The boy was evolving faster than his peers. Tiffany was proud of his success, and with good reason. Her son had won many competitions of different levels, including international, and he studied easily and absorbed knowledge like a sponge. In 5th grade, the boy became interested in programming. As a result, when he graduated from high school, he was earning more than his mother ever did. And while studying at university, Connor founded an IT company with 2 friends. It became famous and scaled rapidly. Connor invested successfully, launched his startups, and worked hard. He was truly passionate about his business. Connor became a millionaire before he was 30. Everything was happening so fast, Tiffany could not keep track of progress. Her son was now well known all over the country as a young and very talented app developer. Tiffany didn't understand what her son was doing, but she knew it was something highly sought after and competitive. Also, she was happy that her grandmother could watch her great-grandson succeed. She was very old and weak now, but her mind was still clear. The old woman said that Connor was the only one keeping her in this world. She was curious to see his new achievements. When Connor was 10 years old, Tiffany met Alan at work. He tried to court a nurse he liked, but Tiffany didn't trust men then, all because of Adam. It took a lot of time and effort for Alan to break the ice in her heart, but he proved that his feelings were sincere. Alan and Tiffany got married and had a daughter together. Alan treated his son and daughter equally and saw no difference between them. They were both his children, and he loved them both. Sometimes, it even seemed to Tiffany that Alan paid more attention to Connor. The man enjoyed playing chess with the clever boy and talking about everything. Alan supported all of Connor's initiatives. As an adult, Connor often admitted that his father inspired him, gave him new ideas, and encouraged him. And all this helped him to become a confident and successful man. Connor's fame has long gone beyond the country. The young man frequently appeared on TV and was interviewed, and there were many articles about him in magazines and on various websites. Media personality joked Connor about himself. And then, one day, a journalist decided that Connor was worthy of writing a book about him, an inspiring read for the younger generation. Let children and teenagers learn the path of the famous IT millionaire. Connor started at the bottom and succeeded. so everyone has a chance. The journalist learned the history of Connor's family and realized that Alan was not the young genius's biological father. He wanted to know more about the biological father of his character. The story turned out to be very interesting. The journalist found Adam. Adam was an unemployed alcoholic living in a squalid apartment on a meager disability allowance. He had been seriously injured in a car accident when he was driving drunk, as he often did. The man considered that accident his lucky ticket. Otherwise, he would have nothing to live on. When Adam's father retired as mayor, life became harder. The amount of money his parents sent him regularly decreased significantly, and Adam fell into depression. But his father couldn't stay idle for long. He started a business, and things seemed to be getting better. But he had a heart attack and didn't survive. Now Adam had only his mother, who has never worked a day in her life. When his father died, Adam was fired from his job. He couldn't and didn't want to work. The only reason they hadn't fired Adam before was that they respected his father. Gradually, Adam and his mother sold off all the property. There was enough for about 15 years of a nice, comfortable life. During this time, the man even managed to get married and have a daughter. But his wife soon realized that there were no prospects with the lazy, frivolous Adam, and she left him, taking promises from her former husband never to bother them. Adam gladly kept his promise. It was the only promise he had kept in his entire life. His wife constantly demanded something from him and criticized him. His little daughter never gave him a minute of rest. He felt much more comfortable without them. Then, he had to sell the mansion and move into an apartment. Soon, his mother passed away too. So Adam was left alone in a small apartment with a disability allowance and a dozen alcoholic friends who were there for him whenever he had the money for booze. Adam lived with resentment and complained about his fate. He complained that people always wanted something from him, and everyone around him was selfish and materialistic. And now, when he was in distress, no one was there for him. His daughter didn't even want to know him. Her parents died a long time ago, and no one cared about him. There was only one thing left: booze, which Adam had been friends with since he was young, and now it was a lifesaver. When he was drunk, he found it easier to deal with the harsh reality. Suddenly, this strange journalist came to him and started asking questions about his son. "I have a daughter," Adam tried to tell him. "We don't keep in touch anymore." "Why do you even ask that?" The journalist kept stubbornly talking about his son, mentioning the name of a famous young millionaire. Adam had heard more than once about this fortunate young man who was so lucky he even envied him. But where was the connection? And then he finally realized it. It turns out that Connor was his son. Tiffany was asking for money for this boy then. So, the boy had survived and became a millionaire after all. Adam clutched his head. He understood that his son would hardly want to communicate with him, but he could solve all his problems. Connor's a millionaire. It wouldn't cost him anything. Maybe I should hire a lawyer and try to prove paternity. After all, adult children have to support their parents. Adam thought for a moment. It was as if the journalist had read his mind. "I don't think you should try to connect with him. I wouldn't even want to know you if I were him. And you can't get any money through the court because you didn't take part in raising the child. You don't have any parental rights," the journalist finished. "Then what do you want from me?" asked Adam tiredly, looking at the journalist. "I want to write about you in my book. I always try to get to know my characters better. Perhaps your example will help people make the right choices in life. This story is a great parable, and the moral of the story is simple. Don't give up on your children." The journalist left. Adam remained sitting at the table for a long time. It was heavy on his heart. He lost all his possessions a long time ago, but the feeling of loss began to torment him only now when he found out that his son was a millionaire. It was unbearable. Adam took a bottle of cheap alcohol from the cabinet and began to